Now as we approach a month after the release of Wastelanders, we have several big things coming to Fallout 76 in the near future. We know later this week we're getting the roadmap for the game, and to coincide with that, we're starting to get some interviews about Wastelanders and its development, and we also know that an update is coming. This seems to be 1 week from today based on the old roadmap, so we will talk a bit about that, but also some of the issues that have popped up in the game leading up to this update. Some things Bethesda has begun to fix already, but other ones that mysteriously aren't getting addressed or not getting addressed properly. There's quite a bit going on with Fallout 76 right now, and in this video I really want to cover a good chunk of it. If you enjoy the content, you can get subscribed. Again, as I just mentioned, there's going to be a lot of news over the next week and a half. But even further, as we get into E3 season, or what would have been E3 season, there'll be a lot of news around Bethesda game studios in general. One of the first big pieces of news to talk about and address is around Wastelanders and its glitches. Although the first couple of weeks for Wastelanders was just positive press and a good experience all around, as we got into week 2, it definitely seemed like a lot of bugs and exploits started to arise with the DLC and the game overall, several of which involved losing items. The 3 major ones were 1. NPCs in the game being able to steal your items upon death. Fortunately, this was hotfixed out. The second major one to pop up around the same time was power armor getting deleted right as you jumped into it, and we actually just got a hotfix earlier today in response to this. Bethesda does mention how they released a hotfix for Fallout 76 to address a rare issue where entering a set of deployed power armor could cause equipped power armor pieces to disappear. And pretty cool by them, using that newer tech, they didn't have to take the servers offline, so the hotfix was just applied naturally. But then third, we did have the vending machine and punch bowl issues, which have popped up more recently, where seemingly wrong items are assigned to vending machines to be sold. And you could buy very rare items for very cheap or get items for free via a punch bowl. And Bethesda actually addresses this also in the notes for this hotfix, mentioning how we are closing in on a hotfix for an issue with vending machines occasionally listing incorrect items. And we will have another hotfix like this one as soon as it's ready. So that's pretty exciting. It does seem to confirm that the vending machine glitch is a very legitimate one, but also that Bethesda is aware of it and closing in on a way to address it. The problem is, despite all 3 of these glitches having been introduced with the Wastelanders update, them each having various lifespans, some actually being around for a couple of weeks now, albeit very rare, and at this point, all 3 being officially acknowledged by Bethesda, they have yet to give users any way to get their items back. So if you were affected by any of these, if you lost an item due to a bug that Bethesda introduced into their game, you're just kind of screwed. People reached out to support said, sorry, we lack the tools to address this. And to me, that does feel somewhat ridiculous, especially when you consider, obviously now, Bethesda knows about this vending machine glitch. Vending machines are still active in Fallout 76. Invariably, between now and when this hotfix goes live, people lose items. Bethesda knows people lose items, but they're not providing any resources to give users their items back. It would be one thing if Bethesda clamped down on this disabled vending machines until a hotfix was put out, but right now they're knowingly leaving buggy aspects of their game live where users will suffer from them, but then not giving users a resolution as a result of suffering from them. That does feel pretty ridiculous to me and like something that shouldn't be happening. Now who knows, maybe once this is all said and done, Bethesda will change their minds and start giving users their items back. Something they've done in the past is clearly possible, but again, right now if you've been affected, reach out to Bethesda. Even with proof, you're not getting anything back. You're getting a response saying we lack the tools to do so. Although something pretty interesting that has come out of all of this. Very recently, I showed you guys how one user seemed to have found a way to cause the vending machine glitch, or something suspicious to happen with vending machines. I tested this in my old video and couldn't fully recreate it, so it seemed like more was going on there. But something interesting, it seems like out of all of that, users have discovered a new way to do. Now, I'm not going to give you the exact steps on how to do this, but more or less in the past, this glitch involved listing several items at your vendor, but then connecting to a world where your vending machine couldn't be placed down, and messing about with some of these items while on that world. Well, using that same fundamental technique as well as a few other steps, you are able to actually dupe stackable items in Fallout 76. And this is very easy to do. It's a solo dupe. Many people are abusing this already. A key aspect of this is it has to be a stackable item, so weapons and individual armor pieces do not qualify. You can't stack them in game. But of course, things that do qualify, basically all of the aid items, ammos, but even further, treasury notes, legendary modules, and vault steal. And those last three are quite significant, in particular treasury notes. Treasury notes and legendary modules have become a quintessential aspect of the endgame grind. And although with treasury notes you're still restricted by only being able to turn in 20 per day, with legendary modules that is very valuable. To be able to dupe those to no end makes that endgame grind a lot easier. I actually just made a full video on this yesterday if you want to check it out. With that in mind, it'll be very interesting to see how Bethesda responds to this. In the past, although dupers tend to get banned, they don't always remove the items, and in fact, many times haven't removed the items. Considering treasury notes, vault steal, and legendary modules aren't tradable, that would be quite a bit more of a solution this time around, but not when it comes to things like ammo and other items that may be duped via this. Although even outside of that, there are several interesting implications of this. Firstly, this definitely seems to suggest that there really is something going on with connecting to a server and not having your camp placed down as it connects to the dupe, as it connects to the vending stash glitch. Even though I couldn't recreate it and perhaps there are additional factors at play, something is going wrong with this process in general. But also there's the big question of why is this possible? That's likely something we'll never get an answer to, but it's not like in Wastelanders we saw changes to how any of these features worked. And of course this glitch as well as this dupe weren't happening before Wastelanders. So what many have suggested is that it could be a version control issue, something we've seen happen with Bethesda in the past, where perhaps there were checks in place to prevent this type of dupe occurring, but at some point with the Wastelanders update, they weren't carried over. And right now it's very circumstantial, it's just inferences based off what we know from an outer perspective, but based on Bethesda's history, it's honestly not all that crazy. One of the other things that is kind of odd about all of this is several of the glitches that have popped up have kind of lingered. We still see fairly easy to do reputation glitches for both the settlers and the raiders. Roughly a week ago, I talked about how there was a glitch allowing you to transfer those untradeable gold bullion items from one account to a different player's account. That still hasn't been addressed or patched. And even a newer issue to pop up where Smiley isn't resetting his gold, and actually this happened to me. Despite the reset point having passed, Smiley still only offered me 150 gold bullion, even though he should at this point be offering me the full 300 for 6,000 caps. And several other users have had this problem. But I find this strange because prior to Wastelanders and even almost immediately thereafter, Bethesda was doing a really good job when it came to exploits to addressing them quickly. We saw numerous hotfixes just a couple of days after a dupe got popularized, and at one point we were basically seeing hotfixes once a week. So I know a big new update is right around the corner, and Bethesda is likely concerned with that, and perhaps their remote work is having an effect on this, but some of these exploits are going on 2 weeks old since they've been publicly known. And this definitely seems like a departure from the rate at which Bethesda was addressing some of these issues previously. Now perhaps one of the big reasons is they're trying to bundle all of these fixes in the next update, but of course that does leave the problem that you have now all of that time for people to abuse them. And I don't know about you, but the fast travel bug where you just can't fast travel someplace because it glitches out and you have to move around a little bit, as well as the respawn bug have been driving me insane. Take here, I die during the queen fight and I get the respawn bug. So technically I should be spawned and my character is spawned in the world, but it won't let me move because it thinks I have to pick a spot to respawn. I kept trying to do this, but I kept dying again while I couldn't control my character or an enemy would hit me and then I couldn't fast travel away to fix it. Although fortunately with this video, it isn't only negative news around Fallout 76. Bethesda recently did an interview with Rock Paper Shotgun, this on the making of Fallout 76's Wastelanders, some of the background on that, and it seems they interviewed the same individuals to do the AMA we got a couple of weeks ago. I will full link to this down below. It definitely is interesting, but it gives us some insights that we typically don't get when it comes to Fallout 76's development. We hear how before Wastelanders, the whole no human NPC thing with Fallout 76's initial release was a big experiment, which yeah, obviously. But even further, how there were people on the team of developers behind Fallout 76 who really did want human NPCs, who were against them being absent. And they even describe how at time to time developers would try and sneak in a survivor, but they would catch it and delete them. And they describe here how some of these decisions were definitely not made with 100% confidence. And when it comes to that one, I have a feeling some of us suspect other factors like outside parties were at play. We learned that Todd Howard actually had a role in working out the story of Wastelanders. The lead interviewed here describes how he sat down with Todd Howard to work out the story, but they also describe how it's pretty difficult to design the story because when you pull on one thing, it interferes with others. updates in the Fallout 76 world. With Wastelanders, they wanted to maintain the existing Fallout 76 story. So it's not like you could just do anything because you have to make sure all of those initial story pieces remain. And they discuss how you just can't remove certain NPCs because they're required by that main story, and they really didn't want to retcon or change anything. The main story of Wastelanders was worked on by both the Maryland studio in Rockville, as well as the Bethesda Game Studios Austin studio, which are the main 76 developers. Something pretty cool that I think is quite revealing. With Fallout 76, despite it being an open world online game, there was this weird paradox where, despite the vast majority of online games having extremely toxic fan bases, especially in this genre, in Fallout 76, people were overwhelmingly positive, even to the surprise of developers and almost going against some of the developers' initial plans for the game. So when designing Wastelanders, and specifically these returning human NPCs, they actually took that into account. So they made it so the people returning to Appalachia, the new human NPCs, reflected that behavior from the Vault Dwellers. They wouldn't treat you like you were some kind of crazy savage, but rather that you were nice. Because that's how the Vault 76 dwellers, aka the players of Fallout 76, acted towards each other the vast majority of the time. And then finally we get some insight into Bethesda's kind of reaction to the launch of Wastelanders and how large in part they view it as a success. How they wish they were in the office so they could give rounds of high fives because it was so well received, especially in comparison to the initial launch of the game. And they really view it as working hard and finally paying off with this update. And as far as the main story goes and a lot of the intended features, you definitely have to agree. It has been overwhelmingly positive when you look at reviews or just responses overall. Looking ahead with Fallout 76, there are several interesting things in the horizon. A few of you guys reached out to me today wondering where the backpack vanity updates were from the community roadmap, but they actually updated this roadmap, so those are coming next week, actually 1 week from today when this is uploaded on May 19th, but even a little bit sooner. This weekend for Fallout 76, there will be a double experience weekend. On Tuesday again, we do get the backpack vanity updates. It's not really clear what these are, probably additional ways to customize or change the appearance of your backpack. Although considering that hasn't been data mined, it seems like May 19th is when the next update will go live. Probably going to want to ship all of that new content together, so there'll be a lot in the way of data mines. And then shortly thereafter, we get the Treasure Hunter event, and then even further, the Fosnot seasonal event. So after this weekend, we're going to see the return of new content to Fallout 76, additional updates, additional in-game events, and hopefully this will carry us over with the roadmap into the next larger updates coming this summer. Which, speaking of with that in mind, this Thursday we know we're getting the roadmap. Something interesting, perhaps the roadmap contains a trailer or something larger. In the past, they said the roadmap would be revealed at an event, although then all of the events got canceled after PAX East. But if it was going to come an event, I kind of suspected it would have a little bit more to it, not just an image. So I'm crossing my fingers, maybe a new game mode that's on the way we get a trailer for this Thursday, although that's just pure speculation on my part. And if nothing else, I imagine we see at least a preview of this next update, as technically, even though I assume it's May 19th, Bethesda has yet to confirm the date of that, so it would likely be done this Thursday one way or another, which may also come with some details about what exactly this update is bringing.